Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Canal Algérie's news in English. And the beginning is with the headlines. The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense, conducts a visit to the headquarters of the Ministry of National Defense, where he chairs the regular working meeting and listens to a comprehensive presentation on the prevailing security situation across the country. The Council of the Nation adopts unanimously the text of the finance law for the year 2023 during a plenary session presided by the Speaker of the Council of the Nation, Saleh Boujil, and in the presence of different ministers. In accordance with the instructions of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, efforts aiming to upgrade the national automobile manufacturing continue. Details in a few minutes. Demonstrations continue in Morocco despite repression, police violence, and mass arrests. This time we shed light on the demonstrations of the population of Zanata. Good evening, those were today's headlines. First in our news, the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense, visited on Thursday the headquarters of the Ministry of National Defense, where he was received by the Army General Saïd Chengriha, Chief of Staff of the National People's Army. More details with Anya Al-Bahri.
After listening to the national anthem and presenting it with military honors by formations of the various forces of the National People's Army, the President of the Republic saluted his hosts.
أهلا وسهلا سيدي الرئيس في وزارتكم موقرة. أنا الجزائر بلد الأبطال والعظماء، بلد المسلمين الصناديد، بلد عرف أبناؤه بقوتهم منذ غابر الأزمان، فاسألوا التاريخ عني.
During this visit, the President of the Republic presided over the periodic work meeting, which was attended by the Army General, Chief of Staff of the National People's Army, the Secretary General of the Ministry of National Defense, officers of brigades and deans of the Ministry of National Defense, and staff of the National People's Army, and via video conference the commanders of the forces, the Republican Guard, the National Gendarmerie, and the major units of National People's Army. During this meeting, the President of the Republic listened to a comprehensive presentation on the prevailing security situation throughout the country, presented by the Army General Chief of Staff of the National People's Army, which included the outcome of the actions carried out by the units of the National People's Army during the year 2022, with a view to establishing the conditions for stability, security, tranquility for citizens, in addition to the tasks related to protecting our long national borders, our airspace, and our maritime outskirts. As well as the implementation of programs to prepare and develop battle strength and the efficiency of mechanisms to maintain the operational readiness of combat units. On this occasion, the President gave a number of directives and instructions within the framework of urging the personnel of the National People's Army to continue the journey of development and modernization of all its components in order to raise the challenges encountered and advance our armed forces to assume the ranks befitting the greatness of the tasks entrusted. After signing the Golden Book, the President of the Republic, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense, left the headquarters of the Ministry of National Defense, where he was bidden farewell by the Army General Said Shingriha, Chief of Staff of the National People's Army.
As a representative of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, the Prime Minister, Ayman bin Abdurrahman, arrived on the evening of Thursday in the capital of Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, to take part in the proceedings of the Arab-China Summit for Cooperation and Development, which starts on Friday, the 9th of December. Accompanying the Prime Minister is the Minister of Industry, Ahmed Zaghdar, and the Minister of Trade and Promotion of Exports, Kamal al-Sik. In the parliamentary activity, the Council of the Nation adopted unanimously on Thursday the text of the finance law for the year 2023 during a plenary session presided on by Saleh Goujil in the presence of the Minister of Finance, Brahim Jamal Kisali, members of the government, and the Minister of Relations with the Parliament, Basma Azwar. This was an occasion for the President of the Council of the Nation, Saleh Goujil, to recall the different accomplishments of our country. Let's listen.
The freedom of political decision in Algeria is a policy that the country has always adopted, and this in the most critical situations that Algeria has always preserved the freedom of its decisions. We live in a phase where the freedom of decision is reinforced by economic freedom. This is the fruit of the strategy of the President of the Republic, aims at boosting the development, in particular through the revision of the loan, currency and credit, a strategy which has a positive impact on investment in Algeria, but also on the independence of economic decision-making. Today, we are able to choose economic orientations without anything being dictated from abroad. This is how Algeria has preserved its independence, in particular through its refusal to resort to outside interference.
In the proceedings of the International Symposium of Fighting Corruption on Thursday, several legal mechanisms were addressed, notably after the 2020 constitutional revision under the patronage of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune. Details with Sabrina Tefrganit.
The prevention and fight against corruption comes under the initiative of the High Authority for Transparency, aiming for radical change. The works of the International Symposium is dedicated to introduce the anti-corruption and the moralization of public life strategy in Algeria. It is an opportunity to assess the progress in terms of fighting corruption after ratifying the Anti-Corruption Convention of 2004, an occasion to recreate Algeria's commitment and to highlight its efforts deployed at the national and international level.
On est très fiers d'accompagner les efforts de l'Algérie.
We are proud of supporting Algeria's efforts by providing the technical assistance and the partnership agreements with high authorities. We will be present for the follow-up and evaluation of the measures.
Ce partenariat pour appuyer davantage la réalisation pas seulement de l'outil de l'évaluation, mais aussi parce que c'est le suivi et l'évaluation des actions.
Amid this symposium, experts tackled legal mechanisms which were introduced after 2020 constitutional amendment.
إذن هذا الملتقى يدخل في إطار الاحتفال باليوم العالمي لمكافحة الفساد 20 سنة.
Within the framework of celebrating the International Day of Fighting Corruption, 20 years after the United Nations Convention, the participants addressed several matters such as the moralization of public life, the principles of transparency and the legal framework of the fight against corruption.
الحياة العامة في المجتمع.
To achieve the enforcement of the constitutional state's institutions, this independent body is deployed with prerogatives and mechanisms of an effective intervention in order to counter this scourge.
On the sidelines of the 9th High-Level Conference on Peace and Security in Africa, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the National Community Abroad, Ramtal Al-Amamra, held talks with many of his African counterparts. The delegations participated in the conference, where Al-Amamra held talks with the Nigerian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Cooperation and African Integration, Assoumi Massoudou, in addition to the Chadian Foreign Minister, Mohamed As-Salah Al-Nadif. Al-Amamra also held talks with the State Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, Birtukan Ayanu Dadi, and State Minister, the Foreign Affairs Minister and International Trade of the Republic of Zimbabwe, David Mospayana, as well as the Deputy Foreign Minister for the Republic of Djibouti, Mohammed Ali Hassan. The talks discussed the bilateral relations and the regional and international situation. The proceedings of the 9th High-Level Conference on Peace and Security in Africa held in Iran were crowned with a set of recommendations aiming to strengthen joint and multilateral African action to make Africa's voice heard among the nations and making it strong by making sovereign decisions in a safe environment from escalating threats. In a statement, Al-Amamra emphasized further efforts to alleviate a historical injustice on Africa and the composition of the Security Council. Min Al-Ammari.
The 9th High-Level Conference on Peace and Security in Africa is an opportunity for meeting and discussing peace and security in this continent. A meeting held to strengthen cooperation and coordination among the African Union's Peace and Security Council and the African members of the United Nations Security Council to defend common interests while making decisions. A conference with deep endeavors to silence guns, fighting terrorism, violent extremism, and disarmament by controlling arms proliferation across the African continent, and aiming to strengthen the peace system by joining forces and uniting visions to enrich methods and contributions in the global counterterrorism agenda.
I believe it has anchored in the spirits and minds and even hearts of many people this notion of culture of counterterrorism. And that is very important. So the modalities can be enriched. New contributions can make a difference in the world's agenda against terrorism.
We need to forge partnerships with external countries and regional organizations to buttress our Africa ownership and lead peace and development efforts.
Algeria plays an important and positive role as far as the status it occupies in Africa, a prominent role in assuming its responsibilities as a regional power. The 9th High-Level Conference is an opportunity for promising approaches and united voices to eradicate terrorism and addressing African conflicts and disputes. Another look at joint cooperation to find African solutions for African issues, to promote African peace and security in order to achieve an inevitable economic development, to counter international threats, not to forget the imposition and application of penalties by international organizations and partners of African Union member states.
Algeria occupy a very strategic and vintage position in ensuring that we have peace and stability in Africa. Why? Because we are saying when you talk of peace, we talk of all this turmoil that we find in Africa.
Creating prospects for African problems through African solutions. I believe that Algeria is the best at playing this role. This edition is an extension of previous ones initiated by Algeria as part of its firm and continuous commitment to support the organization's work in the field of African peace and stability.
The Minister of Public Works, Hydraulics and Basic Infrastructures, Lakhdar Khrouq, supervised the installation of Hamid Khmiles as a new director of Consider Group. Within the continuous efforts aiming to upgrade the national automobile manufacturing, in accordance to the President of the Republic's instructions, the Minister of Industry, Ahmed Zaghdar, affirmed that the prices will decrease just with the beginning of the manufacturing and import process. Details with Sabrin Tafirganit.
To establish a strong base of vehicle manufacturing in our country is one of the main objectives in order to revive 2022 economy. Hard lists were removed and the new investment law was established. This law attracted national and foreign investors.
After
the national forum headed by the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, for the economic recovery, today I think we achieved tangible results thanks to the new investment law and the participation of important companies in different fields, especially in vehicle manufacturing. In the past years, the supply and demand in the market was the reason behind the flaming prices, a changeable situation since the introduction of local manufacturing and the import process, alongside the new partnership agreements and the implementation of the electronic platform.
في تفاوض رانا اتفاقيات مع أكبر الشركات من شركات فيات اللي اليوم راهي تسعى في
We are negotiating with big companies such as Fiat, trying to embody this project in one province. The process of setting up a vehicle is already being introduced. With the beginning of the new year, this problem will be solved. Not in a month, but it will certainly establish competitiveness between the concerned companies. Algerian car prices will be less expensive compared to the others.
راح ثاني يقلل من التكلفة وزيد على ذلك الطاقة الحمد لله واعتقادي أننا سوف نصل إلى 40% مما يسمح للمنتوج الوطني السيارة الجزائرية تكون أقل تكلفة من السيارات الأخرى إن شاء الله.
amplifying the country's market with factories specialized in the production of spare parts and vehicles, comes under the framework of reviving local market and the creation of thousands of job opportunities.
A partnership agreement was signed between the Ministry of Higher Education and that of the pharmaceutical industry. The two ministers of both sectors visited the Biotechnology Center in the University of Constantine Abdelhamid Mahri and the University of Saleh Boubnider. Details on the agreement with Manal Ammani.
In order to achieve the noble objectives of the joint national strategy in the area of production and manufacture of medicines between the Ministry of Higher Education and Scientific Research and the Ministry of the Pharmaceutical Industry, on Thursday at the Biotechnology Research Center at the University of Constantine II, an agreement was signed by Kamal Badari, Minister of Higher Education and Scientific Research, and Ali Aoun, the Minister of the Pharmaceutical Industry.
هذا اليوم الذي نوقع فيه على اتفاقية تعاون وشراكة مع وزارة الصناعات الصيدلانية.
On this day, we signed on the cooperation and partnership agreement with the Ministry of the Pharmaceutical Industry. The Biotechnology Research Center is putting all its human and material resources at the disposal of the pharmaceutical industry.
تحت تصرف وزارة الصناعات الصيدلانية.
The agreement aims to transfer the Biotechnology Research Center into a research and development unit for the benefit of the Saidal Group, subsidiary of the pharmaceutical industry, to reach the goal of making the university associated with this group in the production of medications.
سياسة القطاعين هو تفعيل اللولب البحث العلمي.
The two sectors policy aims to activate scientific research, innovation and manufacturing. We transform innovative ideas, researchers and graduate students' cognitive abilities into a marketable product in this area.
إلى منتوج قابل للتصنيع والتسويق في مجال الصناعات الصيدلانية.
It is a long-term policy which aims to make higher education an engine for development and an added value to national economy, which contributes to creating wealth. The Higher Education Ministry allocated spaces for Constantine University graduates to create startups in the area of producing medicines.
In the province of Tamanrasset, the Minister of Communication, Mohamed Bouslimani, confirmed that the new Algeria continues to develop the media sector and making it closer to the citizen, especially in the new provinces, this by opening new regional radio to transmit the concerns of citizens. Bouslimani also reiterated the importance of transmitting the information correctly, especially those that concern the achievements of the state. The Communication Minister gave the kickoff signal for the training course on institutional communication in the University of Tamanrasset. To the province of Al-Jilfa, and with the aim of improving living conditions of the inhabitants of remote isolated areas in the province, which reached 279 areas, the mediator of the Republic, Majid Amour, affirmed the work being done to take it in charge while coordinate special care, and this with the embodiment of several programs on the ground. In Morocco, demonstrations between a deprived population that is struggling and an irresponsible government, the inhabitants of Zenata took to the streets denouncing the policy of Al-Makhzen. More details with Daniel Bahri.
After drug trafficking and the over-exploitation of the working class, the Makhzen continues to amass fortunes to the detriment of its people. After the episode of the inhabitants of Douar Oulet Sbita, about 30 kilometers north of Rabat, this time is the turn of the citizens of Zenata to experience the same fate. Indeed, for the Makhzen, it's about to constitute a land base at low cost in order to enrich senior officials and leaders of the kingdom, without even the local population being informed. We are the inhabitants of the city of Zenata. They want to expel us from it, and they prevented us from our peaceful marches. Driven out from their homes and deprived from their most elementary and legitimate rights, The inhabitants of Zenata are today facing the Makhzen Mafia, a most fragile situation and which risks to reach a level of no return. We won't give up. We want to stay in the city of Zenata. Leave us in peace. Once again, the scandals are multiplying against the Makhzen regime. This time, thousands of properties are being seized in order to allow the Makhzen to build luxury residences and hotels.
With that, our news edition comes to a close. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great night.